Good evening, my friends. I'm glad you're here. Settle yourself, take a breath, and allow the noise of the day to fall away for just a moment. You're not here by accident. You're here because something within you is ready to understand yourself more deeply, ready to step into a calmer and more deliberate way of creating your life. You've grown, whether you realize it or not. You've lived enough, questioned enough, struggled enough, and awakened enough that tonight's teaching can finally land in you. Tonight, we're going to clarify something most people overlook. It's so simple that the mind tends to miss it, yet so powerful that it shapes every manifestation, every relationship, every pattern in your world. We are going to explore the difference between identity and expectation, the quiet but profound distinction between who you are being internally and what you are hoping will happen externally. You see, almost everyone focuses on expectation. They wait for signs, they try to stay positive, they ask, they hope, they look outside themselves for confirmation. But identity is the root, the engine, the cause. When you shift identity, expectation becomes irrelevant, because you no longer expect something to come. You simply know who you are, and life reflects that knowing without effort. Tonight's teaching removes the biggest block that keeps desires from manifesting, the habit of wanting from the same self who feels separate from the desire. Once you understand this, the struggle dissolves. The grasping stops. The waiting ends. So listen carefully, not with strain, but with openness. I speak to you with confidence not because these ideas are mine, but because truth needs no force behind it. Truth settles quietly into those who are ready. And you, my friend, are ready. Most people, even those who read, study, meditate, and genuinely try, fall into the same quiet confusion, and it holds them back far more than any lack of discipline or lack of belief ever could. They approach manifestation as a procedure instead of an identity shift. They think the work is about maintaining a certain mindset, repeating affirmations, visualizing at the right time of day, or trying to stay positive long enough for something to finally happen. They treat the inner world like a lever they must pull correctly so that the outer world will reward them. But this is the misunderstanding. They believe the desire will come to them once they perform the right practices, instead of realizing the desire comes from them the moment they embody the version of themselves who already has it. People think manifestation is about getting the relationship, getting the opportunity, getting the money, getting the recognition. They think the universe is responding to their requests like a distant authority deciding whether they've earned it. They wait. They hope. They check the world around them for signs and proof. But the truth is much simpler and far more intimate than that. Manifestation doesn't begin with expectation. It begins with identity. Expectation says, I hope it comes. Identity says, it is already mine because this is who I am. Expectation creates distance, identity dissolves it. Expectation looks outward, identity roots inward. Expectation is anxious, identity is calm. This confusion is the quiet engine behind all delays, all frustration, all the cycles of progress followed by collapse. It's why someone can visualize for months and still feel no closer to their desire, because they haven't shifted the inner being that makes the desire natural. But tonight, we dissolve this confusion once and for all. Tonight, you will understand why you don't need to earn, chase, wait for, or persuade the world to give you anything. You will see how easily your reality changes when you stop trying to manage outcomes and start aligning with the self for whom those outcomes are simply normal. Stay with me. This is the moment the path becomes clear. Let's define the two core ideas that will guide everything tonight. They may seem subtle at first, but once you grasp them, you'll feel something inside you click. These two concepts are identity and expectation. They look similar from a distance, but up close, they are worlds apart. One creates results effortlessly, the other keeps you waiting. Identity is the quiet, unquestioned center from which you think, act, respond, and perceive. It is the inner posture you hold without trying. It is the ground you stand on. Identity is like the seed, complete in itself, containing the entire tree even before anything can be seen above the soil. Identity is cause. It is origin. When you operate from identity, there is no strain, no bargaining, no hoping. You simply express what feels natural for who you already believe yourself to be. Identity doesn't ask if the desire is coming, it assumes the desire is the natural outflow of who you are. Like a shadow that follows the body, the outer world follows identity without resistance, without delay, without negotiation. Expectation, on the other hand, is the surface-level anticipation that something might happen. It is a mental position, not an inner truth. Expectation is the reflection in the mirror, dependent on the object that stands before it, powerless to exist on its own. It feels like, I hope this works, or, maybe it will show up if I get everything right. Expectation is conditional, anxious, outward-focused. Now, let's make this clearer by defining what each one is not, because most people confuse them. Identity is not excitement. It is not emotional intensity. It is not affirmations, routines, or mental discipline. Those things can support transformation, but they are not transformation itself. Identity is calm, steady, quiet, self-evident. Expectation is not faith. It is not conviction. It is not embodiment. Expectation often masquerades as belief, but belief that checks the world for proof is not identity, it is longing dressed as confidence. Identity says, I am. Expectation says, I hope. Identity is the tree. Expectation is the rustling of the leaves. Identity is the body. Expectation is the shadow. Identity is the object. Expectation is the reflection. One is the source, the other is the echo. Tonight, you will learn how to root yourself in identity, because once you do, the world has no choice but to echo it back to you. To understand manifestation, you must understand the true meaning of the desired state. Most people imagine the event, the moment the phone rings, the notification arrives, the money clears, the person returns, the opportunity appears. They picture the scene, the outcome, the result. And then they try to use that imagined event to generate belief. But the event is not the manifestation. The state is. A state is not a moment in time. It is not a scene. It is not a future circumstance. A state is an inner atmosphere, a way of being, a silent conviction that shapes every thought you allow and every choice you make. People chase outcomes because outcomes feel tangible. They want something they can point to, something that proves the process is working. But the moment you chase an outcome, you're already affirming that you don't have it. You're reinforcing the identity of the one who is waiting. The state, however, is the opposite of waiting. It's the quiet, natural acceptance of, this is who I am now. Let me show you what this looks like internally. When someone fully occupies the state of financial stability, they don't obsess over bills or check their balance 10 times a day. Their inner conversations shift. Their emotional baseline is different. They make decisions from calm, not fear. Even before anything changes outside, they feel the weight of money concerns lift because their identity is no longer someone who is struggling, it is someone who is supported. When someone embodies the state of being loved, they don't interpret silence as rejection or uncertainty as danger. They move through their day with a quiet assurance, a softness in the body, a gentler inner voice. Even without a message or a promise, they carry themselves as someone chosen, valued, wanted. When someone lives in the state of success, they don't micromanage results. They don't grasp. They don't rush. They take actions that align with who they believe themselves to be. Their decisions feel intentional, not desperate. They hold themselves differently because they're already living from the version of themselves who succeeds. This is the real work, not chasing the event, but inhabiting the state from which the event is unavoidable. Once the state is yours, the event must appear, because events are simply reflections of the identity you've already claimed. Let me paint a picture for you, something simple and familiar. Imagine someone named Daniel. Daniel has been working toward financial stability for years. He reads every book, watches every video, writes affirmations on sticky notes he keeps on his bathroom mirror. And when he imagines his desire fulfilled, he always sees the moment it happens, the ping of a bank notification showing a large deposit, the email congratulating him on a promotion, the moment he looks at his account and says, finally, I made it. He puts all his energy into that imagined event. He tries to feel excited, tries to force gratitude, tries to hold on to the visualization long enough for something to shift. But notice what's really happening. In his imagination, he is still waiting. The scene he chooses, the notification, the update, the arrival, is still centered around an external event coming to him. His inner state hasn't changed. He remains the one hoping for the breakthrough. Now let's shift the lens. Let's imagine Daniel in the actual state, the state of someone already financially stable. There's no dramatic moment. No fireworks. No emotional spike. Instead, there's a quiet normalcy. When he wakes in the morning, his chest doesn't tighten. His first breath is deeper. His thoughts aren't frantic calculations. There's a subtle ease in his shoulders, an unhurried calm in the way he moves through his room. He drinks his coffee without mentally budgeting every sip. He chooses the slightly better groceries because that's what someone stable does. He doesn't obsessively check his account, because the identity of someone secure doesn't require proof. The inner atmosphere has shifted. His world feels softer, safer, more spacious. Even before the numbers change, he feels a grounded assurance, not excitement, but rightness, as though life finally matches the truth of who he's become. This is the real end. Not the moment of arrival, but the identity that makes the arrival inevitable. The event is loud and dramatic. But the state? The state is quiet, steady, lived in, like slipping into a room you've always known belonged to you. Entering the state of your true identity, the inner being who already possesses the desire, is not something you achieve with effort. It is something you recognize when it naturally arises. There are signs, unmistakable markers that show you have shifted internally. Tonight, I want to guide you through 5 of the most revealing signs that you are truly living from identity, not expectation. Sign 1, your inner conversations change. Notice the words you tell yourself when no one is listening. Are they hopeful, anxious, and questioning? I hope this works. I wonder if it will happen. Maybe it's too soon. These are the words of someone still waiting. When you occupy the state, your inner voice shifts. It sounds like, this is mine. I am this. Thank you, it is done. The mind settles into certainty. The seed has rooted, the tree is quietly growing. Your internal dialogue becomes the proof of your being, not of the external world. Sign 2, excitement fades into naturalness. Excitement is a sign you are still reaching toward something external. It is the fluttering of a bird outside your window. You notice it because it is separate from you. When the state is truly occupied, your desire feels ordinary, natural, unremarkable in the best way. Just as you don't marvel at your own hand or heartbeat, you accept your desire as a simple truth of your being. There's a calm satisfaction, not a thrill. Sign 3, you stop seeking proof. The person in the state doesn't constantly check for confirmation. They know what is already theirs, just as you know you have hands without looking. When you find yourself no longer scanning for signs, no longer needing validation from circumstances, you know the inner assumption has taken root. The world outside becomes a shadow catching up with the substance inside. Sign 4, current circumstances no longer disturb you. Bills, setbacks, or silence may still appear. But like a mirror that takes a few moments to reflect your smile, the outer world no longer determines your state. You remain undisturbed, holding the quiet assurance that what you have assumed is the truth. The delayed reflection cannot shake the certainty of the present. Sign 5, your actions flow effortlessly from the state. You do not have to force yourself to think, choose, or act differently. Every decision comes naturally from the identity you occupy. A person living in abundance naturally chooses abundance. A person living in love naturally speaks with love. The seed has grown into a tree, and the branches bear fruit without effort. Notice these signs. They are subtle but undeniable. They are the markers of identity taking root. As you recognize them within yourself, you will know you are no longer reaching for the desire. You have become the one who already has it, and everything you do flows naturally from that truth. Even when people understand the importance of identity, they often sabotage themselves with simple, predictable mistakes. These mistakes are quiet, almost invisible, but they are why so many struggle despite effort, techniques, and intention. Tonight, I want to guide you through the 5 most common mistakes, and how to correct them. Mistake 1, acting externally without an internal shift. Many try to force the outer world to reflect their desires without first changing who they are inside. They speak confidently, visualize vividly, make decisions they think a successful person would make, but internally, they still feel lack, fear, or doubt. Example, Sarah wants a loving relationship. She practices affirmations, smiles confidently at dates, and imagines happy moments. Yet, deep down, she believes she is unlovable. Her actions are disconnected from her inner reality. Correction, begin with identity. Occupy the state internally first. Feel yourself as loved, cherished, desired, completely. Only then will your actions flow naturally and effortlessly from that state. The inner shift must come before the outer expression. Mistake 2, practicing occasionally instead of dwelling in the state. Some people live in the state for 20 minutes at night or during meditation, then return immediately to old patterns during the day. They think a brief practice will be enough. It is not. Example, Mark visualizes wealth each evening. At night, he feels abundant. By morning, he panics over bills and missed opportunities. The internal state never became permanent. Correction, make the state your permanent dwelling. Return to it throughout the day. Let it be the baseline from which all thoughts, words, and decisions naturally flow. Consistency is what transforms temporary experiences into identity. Mistake 3, confusing emotion with fulfillment. Excitement, exhilaration, or thrill does not mean the state has been reached. These emotions point to something external, something still coming. True fulfillment is calm, grounded, and ordinary. Example, Lisa imagines signing a contract for her dream job and feels euphoric. But when she wakes the next morning, the excitement fades, leaving anxiety behind. She mistook emotion for identity. Correction, return to naturalness. Fulfillment feels steady, quiet, like something you've always known. Notice the difference between a spike of excitement and a calm, inner certainty. Mistake 4, checking the 3D world for proof. Many live in the end internally but constantly check their bank accounts, inboxes, or social media for evidence. Every check reinforces doubt, not certainty. Example, David assumes he is successful, but every day he checks his income report. Seeing it incomplete shakes him out of the state. Correction, stop checking for shadows. Identity is internal. Trust the assumption. The external world is merely catching up. Do not validate what you already know. Mistake 5, being shaken by contradictions, the bridge. Sometimes circumstances appear to contradict your assumption. Bills, delays, unexpected obstacles, these are part of the bridge between identity and manifestation. Most people panic and give power to the bridge, allowing doubt to re-enter. Example, Emma assumes she is healthy, but she receives a medical result that seems worrying. She panics, thinking her assumption failed. Correction, recognize the bridge as a natural process. Remain in the state. The reflection will always lag behind the reality of your identity. Stay anchored internally, and the external world will align naturally. These 5 mistakes are subtle, but they are destructive. Correct them, and the flow of manifestation becomes effortless. You stop struggling, stop reaching, and stop hoping. Instead, you live as the person who already has your desire. The rest, the bridge, the external world, follows naturally. If you want, I can now write the next section, the 8-step practical process, 750 words, in the exact same style, fully detailed step by step. Do you want me to do that? Now that we understand identity, the signs you're in the state, and the common mistakes that block manifestation, it's time to apply it. Tonight, I want to give you a step-by-step process, the exact way to enter the state of your true identity and live from it naturally throughout your day. Follow these steps faithfully, and manifestation ceases to be effort and becomes effortless expression. Step 1. Identify the true state. This step is crucial. Most people focus on what they want rather than who they must be to have it. Ask yourself, if I already had this desire, who would I be? What would my inner world feel like? Not what would I possess, but who am I in my essence? Write it down, imagine it, and clearly define the state. This is your anchor. Knowing the precise state is like planting a seed. The clearer the seed, the stronger the tree. Step 2. Assume the state now. Do not wait. Do not prepare. Right now, occupy that state in your consciousness. Feel it fully. Breathe into it. Imagine your thoughts, your posture, your natural responses. You are not becoming this person, you already are this person in your inner world. Feel the authority, the calm, the certainty. This is the difference between pretending and being. Step into it now. Step 3. Feel the naturalness of it. Excitement is a sign you are still reaching. The true state feels ordinary, calm, and self-evident. Sink into the ease of being. How would it feel to have possessed this for months, to have it so naturally that it requires no attention? The body relaxes, the mind softens, and gratitude arises without effort. This is the feeling you must carry. Step 4. Make your first decision from the state. Now that you occupy the state internally, take one action aligned with it. Ask, what would this person do right now? Choose naturally. Do not force behavior. The decision flows from identity. Perhaps it is a conversation, a purchase, or a response. Notice the difference between acting from desire and acting from who you already are. This is where the inner and outer worlds begin to align. Step 5. Monitor your thoughts throughout the day. Observe silently. Are you thinking from the state or toward it? When doubts, hopes, or anxieties arise, gently reset. Speak to yourself inwardly as the person who already possesses the desire. Gradually, thinking from the state becomes your default. Thought discipline is not about suppression, it is about alignment. Step 6. Ignore contrary evidence. You will see shadows, the delayed reflection of the old state in your world. Perhaps a bill arrives, a message doesn't come, or circumstances seem discouraging. Do not react. Recognize these are remnants of your past state. Stay in the present identity. The mirror always lags, the seed has already sprouted. Step 7. Fall asleep in the state every night. The state you occupy before sleep impresses the subconscious most deeply. Tonight, before drifting off, return to the feeling of having already received your desire. Feel the calm certainty, the naturalness, the effortless rightness of the state. Let it be your last conscious thought. The subconscious will continue building the bridge while you rest. Step 8. Wake up in the state every morning. Before your mind drifts to news, tasks, or obligations, return to the identity of already having your desire. Carry it through your first thoughts, your first movements, your first words. Begin the day aligned. The continuity from sleep to waking solidifies the state as permanent. By morning and evening, you are established. Throughout the day, you act, speak, and think from this state, and the outer world must conform. Follow these 8 steps consistently. They are not techniques, tricks, or exercises, they are a pathway to becoming the person who naturally lives in and from the state of your desire. When practiced faithfully, the bridge builds itself, circumstances align, and manifestation is no longer effort, it is a reflection of who you are. If you want, I can now write Section 9, Transformational Story/Case Study, 350 words, in the same voice and tone, fully illustrating the 8-step process in real life. Do you want me to do that? See, let me share a story that illustrates this process perfectly. There was a woman named Rachel who longed to own her dream studio for her art, a space that felt alive with light, creativity, and possibility. Her finances at the time were far from sufficient, and circumstances suggested it was impossible. Most people in her situation would have visualized moving in, imagined the day she signed the lease, or hoped for a miracle. But Rachel did something different. Every night, she returned to the state of already owning the studio. She didn't imagine the moment it would happen. She imagined herself living there for months, walking the rooms, arranging her easels, smelling the paint, feeling the satisfaction of belonging. She held that state in consciousness as naturally as she held her own body. During her days, she acted from that state. When friends invited her to other workspaces, she declined effortlessly. She was already in her studio in her mind. She discussed her art as though she had all the space she needed. She made decisions about materials, marketing, and collaborations from the perspective of someone who already had the studio, not from lack. Opportunities began to appear. An old acquaintance called about a partially funded space, a gallery offered support, a small inheritance arrived unexpectedly. These incidents were not random, they were the bridge forming naturally between her internal state and the external manifestation. At no point did she need to force, chase, or plead. She didn't panic when bills arrived or when certain offers seemed uncertain. She simply remained in her assumed identity. 3 months later, she walked into her fully realized studio. Every detail had aligned effortlessly. She realized the external events were merely reflections of the inner state she had fully occupied. He wasn't pretending. He wasn't acting. He was that person. And the world, inevitably, reflected back exactly who he had become. If you want, I can now draft Section 10, the ultimate secret and conclusion, 800 words, to close the script with maximum impact, keeping the same rhythm, tone, and spiritual authority. ChatGPT can ma. Now, let me share the ultimate insight, the paradox at the heart of this entire teaching. This is the piece most people overlook, the quiet truth that separates those who struggle from those for whom manifestation is effortless. The moment you stop needing the manifestation, it rushes toward you. Not because you have given up, not because you have stopped caring, but because the inner state of already having has been fully occupied. When every thought, word, and action flows naturally from the identity of the person who possesses the desire, the external world has no choice but to reflect it. This is the spiritual law in action. The universe responds to the being, not the doing. Struggle, effort, and longing only affirm separation. Calm, grounded assumption affirms completion. The desire is already yours in consciousness, and from that state, all else unfolds naturally, effortlessly, without forcing, without chasing. The higher truth is simple. When you fully inhabit the state, you stop reaching. You stop striving. You stop needing. And yet, everything you want comes, not as a prize, but as a reflection, a shadow catching up to the substance that has already been claimed. This is the final piece. Return to naturalness. Live in the identity of having what you desire. Allow your internal state to flow outward. When you do, manifestation is no longer a goal. It is inevitable. You are no longer seeking. You are. And being is enough. If you want, I can now compile all 10 sections into a complete full-length script, for 300 words, in your competitor's exact voice and style, ready for use. Do you want me to do that? ChatGPT can make mistakes. See. Before you drift off tonight, take a moment to return fully to the state of your true identity. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and let the world fall away. Recall the state you assumed today, the calm certainty, the naturalness, the quiet satisfaction of already having your desire. Feel it in your chest, your mind, your body. Let it settle, not as a thought, not as hope, not as excitement, but as truth. This is the last thing your consciousness holds before sleep, and your subconscious will carry it through the night, building the bridge, arranging circumstances, aligning reality with the person you already are. When morning comes, before checking messages, before opening your eyes fully, before engaging with the world, return immediately to the state. Feel yourself as the person who already possesses your desire. Let every first thought, movement, and breath affirm this identity. Carry it into your day. Speak from it. Act from it. Think from it. Let the outer world respond naturally to the inner truth. These simple practices, night and morning, anchor you in the state and create continuity between sleep, waking, and your daily life. Return consistently. Return without judgment. Return to the state. Return to who you truly are. This is not a technique. It is a way of being. And the more faithfully you return to it, the more effortlessly the world reflects the identity you occupy. If you want, I can now compile all 11 sections into a single, complete script, for 300 words, in your competitor's exact voice, flow, and style, ready for immediate use. ChatGPT can make mist. And now, my friends, as we come to the close of this teaching, take a moment to feel gratitude for your presence here tonight. You did not arrive by accident. You arrived because your soul is ready. You arrived because your consciousness is prepared to understand, to receive, and to embody this truth. Carry this teaching beyond words, beyond techniques, beyond ideas. Let it settle into the quiet depths of who you are. Know that you are not here to hope, to strive, or to chase. You are here to remember who you already are, the person who naturally embodies every desire, the being whose inner state shapes the world effortlessly. Go forward with calm certainty. Return to the state. Live from the end. Let the bridge build itself, let the world reflect the truth of your identity, and let every step you take flow naturally from who you are in consciousness. Remember this always: you are not seeking. You are. You are complete. You are fulfilled. And as you embody this truth, the universe cannot help but mirror your greatness. Thank you for joining me in consciousness tonight. Carry this truth with you, and as always, good evening, my friends, and live fully as the person who already has it. ChatGPT can